Start, a college football podcast for everyone and everyone else. I'm John Buhler, staff writer, fansided.com. I'm joined today by a man who has been drinking oat milk and vodka like water since about sundown, who thinks the only way to bathe after a game is to take a goalpost with you to the Cumberland. You can't spell Parthenon without P. Cody Williams, content director, fansided.com. Vanderbilt is effing turnt. How the hell are you?
Oh my God, dude. Diego Pavia is our king. We love him so much. We'll get to Diego in a second, but man, what a day in college football. Like I think when we talked on Thursday about all the trap games that were on the schedule, like we were like, yeah, you might look at this schedule and think that, oh, it's not going to be the best week. It's not going to be next week. You look at next week and you see such a loaded schedule, you think, okay, it's not going to be that type of entertainment. And I would venture to say, obviously, we haven't seen what happens next week, but it's going to be hard to top what we just saw today, man.
Yeah, these are the weeks that it always happens. You saw number one Alabama go down. You saw number four Tennessee go down. You saw number nine the frauds from Como, Mizzou go down. You saw Michigan, who can't throw a football with their third string quarterback. They went down. Yeah.
What a day, man. And I mean, like, that's just tip of the iceberg. Like, even Friday night, we saw UNLV, who, everyone was ready to crown after Haj Malik Williams came in for Matt Sluka, and Syracuse and Kyle McCord came and took them down a peg. So, like, it's just a lot of chaos happening right now. And also on Friday night, we saw Oregon continue to look like a team that I just really don't trust.
I mean, kind of trust him a little more than I should, but at the same time, I'm like, I'd rather Diego Pavia is better than Dylan Gabriel, 1000%.
Well, I mean, Diego Pavia, I would take over most quarterbacks in college football. He's not better than every quarterback in college football, but he's going to try harder for sure.
I mean, I trust him more than most surgeons, to be honest with you, just purely on vibes, just ripping lung darts. It's like, it's fine. Putting ash like your empty cavity in your body, it's fine.
That's right.
I saw somewhere that Alabama FBS schools want to combine like 1-4, 1-5 this week. And the only one that got a win was Jacksonville State over Kennesaw State on
Dude, shouts to
Friday.
Rich Rod. We stand Rich Rod always.
Absolutely. Don't forget about it. On Friday, yeah, like yesterday, Houston won. Yeah, TCU. What
Mhm.
are you doing, Sonny Dykes? Oh my God.
I'm getting closer and closer to declaring that there might not be any good college football teams. Like that's kind of where I'm heading with my take on the landscape right now.
Yes, and obviously we're coming into you guys live with 3 yards in a cloud of punt after Tennessee lost to Arkansas in a game that you were just waiting for it to break the Hogs' way, and it finally did.
Mhm.
But it's like trying to even think what the word is. Like, oh, we still got to split out like Cal at Miami, Miami
Yeah.
Cal. That's stupidest game ever. Those people have been up since 4:30 Pacific time.
Hey, but they had Marshawn and pure vibes to get them along. Also, like before we get into, 3 yards and a caught a punt fully, like let's take game day to places it's never been before every week because the atmosphere at those places where that don't get game day often, like no offense to your boys in Athens, no offense to Columbus, no offense to Tuscaloosa or any of these places like that, but like Berkeley was popping in a way that those places just aren't because they're accustomed to it. Like it's norm for them. And whereas Berkeley, it's like, oh hell yeah, we'll get up at 4:30 in the morning. Oh hell yeah, we'll make the best signs that you've seen in a year. Like absolutely, just take game day to these new places all the time.
Dude, I'll lose all of my teeth falling down Ty White Hill if Marshawn Lynch could just look at me and wink.
That's right. Did you see the video of him passing by the golf cart and someone said Marshawn passing the golf cart, looking at him like the Green Goblin mask?
Willem Dafoe is so good in that role.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
He's also really good in Beetlejuice too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, dude. Beetlejuice, great movie. You were great rec by you. Would recommend it to everyone who's a fan of the pod.
He's here now because you said it 3 times. So some nothing tasty would happen. You know,
Oh my God.
and that grenade was live. And Diego Pavia is the live dog. Yes, we're gonna run with this for our first topic. Diego Pavia might be the best thing to happen to the state of Tennessee since Dolly Parton, to be honest with you.
Dude, legitimately. So I've been trying since probably about the third quarter of that game. I've been trying to come up with like a comp for what Diego Pavia is and like who he reminds me of. And I think I've settled on he is like the love child of Johnny Football and Ian Book. Like that's kind of how he plays football, and it's magical. Like he just has it like he's not the best player in college football. He's not the best quarterback in college football. He's probably not even the best quarterback in the state of Tennessee. But dude's an absolute gamer. Like he comes out there and he just makes S happen like constantly. And it's really impressive to watch. And I think the other thing that stood out, and we saw this at New Mexico State, like when New Mexico State, when the Aggies went and beat Auburn, like no moment is too big for him. Like he plays the exact same way for 60 minutes. I'm sorry if you can hear the sirens in the background. I am in Western North Carolina now where there is a little bit going on in terms of some disaster relief. So yeah, you'll hear some sirens probably
Yeah.
throughout this.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of overserved Auburn fans outside here. I'm sure it is.
That's everywhere in the Southeast, brother. You don't lie to yourself.
The Arizona State podcast comes out of here and she's like, "Did you turn the TV off?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, "What's that outside?" I'm like, "That's our neighbors, set neighbors."
Having a bad time.
Having a bad having a bad time. Hold on, I gotta take this. Hola, ¿cómo están? Bulldog. See,
Bulldog.
Bulldog. Okay, bye.
Oh, dude, I know Antonio is feeling the Yeri Keel vibes right now. It's absolutely immaculate.
Dude, he was not about Florida. He heard what was going on in Nashville. He's like, I gotta go to some birthday parties, and he's up there now. And he's in the Cumberland swimming.
He's just floating along on the goalposts, just floating down the Cumberland. I I do wonder, like, I saw a bunch of tweets about this and it's just got my brain thinking, like, it's been such a wild day of college football. Your brain goes to some weird places. But what do you think, like, if you're at one of those birthday parties slash bachelorette parties, if you're not Antonio, like, what do you think if you're just on Broadway, like, chilling at Jason Aldean's bar or wherever, and, like, you just see a goalpost start walking by? Like, how do you react to that? Because, like, if you're at one of those parties, like, there's no way that Vanderbilt is playing football today.
Oh, you're sitting there. You're completely lit with like your girls with your special candy lollipops that are shaped a certain way at Tootsie's, and then you see a goalpost with a bunch of really smart people who aren't from Tennessee who happen to go to school there carrying a goalpost past Bridgestone Arena. You're like, am I gonna die?
Is this the apocalypse? Are we dead?
Have you been to Nashville before?
I've driven through Nashville, never been to Nashville. Don't really have a desire to go to Nashville, if I'm being honest.
Oh, damn. That's a place that I gotta go back to for relationship reasons, but it's cool. So Vanderbilt is about the other side of like the railroad gulch of downtown on Broadway. So it's in Midtown. That's where the Parthenon replica is.
Mhm.
So for them to carry the goalpost from First Bank Stadium to the Cumberland River, it's about a 53-minute walk, and they made hella great
Mhm.
time. I saw some tweet on Twitter. She's like, you know what? I've been on that stretch of road. And it's taken me longer to get there on car.
Absolutely, dude. I mean, they were booking it. They were getting it done. And shouts to the power of teamwork, shouts to the power of Diego Pavia. Like, there's a non-zero chance he was helping to carry the goalpost to the Cumberland. Like there's a legitimate shot that he was in that group of people, pads and all.
I know there's gonna be he's that man's gonna drink for free for life in Nashville forever. And I would say what would be trying to do the math here. That would be around 4th of July, there's gonna be a lot of nerdy kids named Diego walking around here.
Absolutely, dude. And if it's twins, just name the other one Dora, man. Dora and Diego. We're ready. We're setting. We're going.
He brought his family up from Albuquerque and they were partying the West End. And it was like they knew.
Did you see that they rented a DJ for their tailgate? Because,
Yes.
dude, straight Albuquerque vibes. I gotta let you in on a little New Mexico secret. So the Santa Fe Opera House is like one of the nicer opera houses in the United States. Like it's pretty world famous or whatever. But because New Mexico things and New Mexico vibes, people tailgate the opera. Like you'll go to an opera and they tailgate it. And like my neighbor was telling me about it, and he goes, yeah, I just showed up in like my nicest clothes, which for him is like jeans and a button-down shirt, but you know, and his good cowboy hat, his good Stetson. And he shows up and he goes, "Yeah, I wasn't expecting to have four Miller Lights before I went to the opera, but there we were."
I had a Bolero necktie on there, and I am like halfway lit for some aria of God knows what.
That's right, exactly.
Uh, Before I guess to move on to like the next topic here, because this is like we got a lot to unpack here. I looked at Vanderbilt's schedule. I think they can go 8-4, 7-5. I feel like they've got some tough games coming up. Um, Obviously, this is Diego Pavia's last year of eligibility because I mean, this is no longer 2024. It's 23 DP in the year of Diego Pavia because he turned
That's
April 2001. This is when he was born.
That's right, dude. Yeah, I mean, we're living in the era of Diego Pavia, and like, you know, you say Vanderbilt can go 8-4 and 7-5. Like, I really just wanted to make a bowl because the thing with Vanderbilt, even with Diego Pavia, and honestly, it's a thing about Diego Pavia as well, if we're being honest about it. It really comes down to the fact like this game proves exactly what you know, what I know, and we know about Diego Pavia. He can win any game that he plays. He can also lose any game that he plays. Like, it's not out of the question that they lose a game that they absolutely shouldn't. But it is a testament to what Clark Lee, Barton Simmons, and this whole entire Vanderbilt staff have done because, you know, Diego Pavia is going to get all the headlines for what he did. Cedric Alexander was great in this game. The
Yes,
offensive line was really good in this game. And like the defense really, like, yeah, they gave up 35 points, but against Alabama, against Jalen Monroe and all the guys they have, they came up with some big plays. So, like, you know, we're kind of seeing it come to fruition. Like if Vanderbilt is in the mix to be a 7-5, 8-4 team, that's a huge victory in modern college football for what Vanderbilt football can be.
absolutely. I was going to ask a question about Clark Lee. So you win this game. I'm pretty sure this carries favor with Candace Story Lee to give Clark Lee even more long of a runway to build this thing. And even if they go 5-7, I mean, they got to get the APR. Like, they're going to get a bowl game.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Yeah, 100%. You can't have Diego Pavia going out without a bowl game. Come on.
What if he's like not really? What if he's like bringing the GPA down like I did at Delta Sig back in the day?
I mean, I don't want to speak ill of Diego Pavia, but I would almost say that's a guarantee that's currently happening at Vanderbilt.
I mean, he is like a biology major, but what does he do? What's he doing in New Mexico? Biology, just looking at horse poop.
Just looking at horse poop, maybe I don't know, studying rattlesnakes, road runners, I don't know. Not a whole lot. The biology's not that interesting in New Mexico.
My girlfriend works in film, and she's like, "Yeah, we got to have snake wranglers on set, so maybe that's what Diego Pavia is going to be doing next." But I hope he keeps playing football. It's a legend.
Dude, I can't wait for the Diego Pavia XFL career. It's gonna be legendary.
Yeah, honestly, just have him see if he can like win the Titans starting job next year. Why not?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, just keep him in Nashville forever. Like he's a legend for as long as they live. Like I don't know if you saw the stat. It was on the broadcast, I think, two or three times. But like before this, Vanderbilt was 0-60 against teams in the top five of the AP top 25. Now it's 1-60. And Alabama, I don't know, man. Can't live on that Georgia win forever. And now you got the real meat and potatoes of your schedule coming up, and you lost to Vanderbilt. So say goodbye to your margin for error, I guess.
Yeah, I saw something about Kalen DeBoer that's I cannot say on here, but we'll talk about that off there.
I think I may have seen the same tweet. So yes.
I shared this one with you about Hugh Freeze at 2-4 from a hospital bed, saying, Diego Pavia's coming again.
Can't wait. Love it so much.
I will remember you.
Oh my God. Oh.
I knew today was going to be an amazing show, but what do you want to run with Cody?
Yeah, so we're running with the guy who runs and the guy who keeps running, and that's Ashton Jeanty, man. Our Boise State King is out here just putting up numbers that don't seem real. Like he played literally one half. He had 13 carries, 186 yards, and three touchdowns. I saw Dane Brugler of The Athletic tweet out the fact that he reached the 1,000 yard mark and the 15 touchdown mark before he reached the 100 carry mark on the season. He has 90 carries on the season, 1,004 yards, and 15 touchdowns. Especially after what we saw from Jalen Milroe today, give this man the effing Heisman
Yeah.
because I don't see anyone else who is doing the putting the team on his back and carrying and putting up the numbers and just encapsulating what college football and the Heisman Trophy should be about more than Ashton Jeanty. And if he doesn't win the Heisman, if he keeps this up, then it's a travesty. That's, I mean, point blank and period.
Yeah, with Milroe and Alabama losing, he's clearly won. I mean, Milroe is still very much in the race, as is Cam Ward, as is whatever Travis Hunter is doing. But at this point, like what Ashton Jeanty's doing is something we probably haven't seen since what Derrick Henry in 15.
Honestly, even more than that, because I think
Yeah.
like when you think about that Derrick Henry season, and this isn't a take away from Derrick Henry, I would never do that because Derrick Henry's an incredible football player. He was at Alabama and has been in the NFL. Like I'm not disparaging Derrick Henry, but so much of what Derrick Henry was doing in that season was like volume based, like it was like, okay, he's carrying the ball 29 times a game. Ashton Jeanty's not even getting close to that. That's not even like a 2 game total for him because of how dominant he's been. Like his two of his first 4 runs in this game against Utah State today were a 64-yard touchdown and a 75-yard touchdown. Like he is just on another planet from the Mountain West. And like, yes, it does help that he plays in the Mountain West. Don't get me wrong about that. But we also watched him do this against Oregon. Like he kept them in the game against Oregon. So like it's not just playing in the Mountain West. It is the totality of who he is as a football player. Future Dallas Cowboy, Ashton Jeanty, I pray.
Dude's a top 10 pick. It's pretty obvious.
Yes.
Um, Follow me on this. So right now, I'd probably say Boise State's very comfortably the Group of Five projected champion, which we keep slotting in at 12. So
Mhm.
I would say like they'd be playing right now in the first round, either Georgia or Alabama, and I don't think I want to play Ashton Jeanty.
No, dude. No, I mean, like, you look at Georgia and with what Alabama was able to do on the ground, and then, Jarquez Hunter didn't have a huge game, but he had some moments. He had some moments today in the Deep South Oldest rivalry. And you look at Alabama and what Diego Pavia and Cedric Alexander were able to do today. Those run defenses are susceptible. And Ashton Jeanty doesn't really need his offensive line to do a whole lot of a lot to give him a crease and be gone. So like it is it is the group of five matchup I want to see more than anything because I think a lot of teams in the group of five we're seeing now as we get to the middle of the season. I think we're seeing that a lot of these group of five teams maybe just won't stack up, like kind of like Liberty playing Oregon last year in the New Year Six. Like it could end up a lot that way. Ashton Jeanty's the type of game changer because like the thing is if Ashton Jeanty wanted to go to like an elite, like legitimately elite Power Four school this offseason in the transfer portal, he could have. He absolutely could have. I don't know a program in the country that wouldn't have taken him. Like we even saw Ohio State take Quinshaw Judkins, and frankly, I'd take Ashton Jeanty over Quinshaw Judkins right now. So like he could have gone anywhere he wanted. He's staying at Boise State, but that's the type of talent you're going to have to match up with. And sometimes I've said this before, and it's a very simplistic way of looking at college football, but sometimes college football comes down to, okay, who has the dudes and who doesn't? And at the very least, we know that Boise State's going to have one of the dudes on the field in that matchup.
Could you imagine if you followed Bush Hamden? Yeah, we've been saying that Bush Hamden to Kentucky. That would
I
have been,
know.
oh my God. Yes, can he throw? Can he pass? And he can
Probably
pass.
better than Brock Vandegrift. I mean, it's not that much different.
Yeah, the man has no touch.
No.
Um, but I guess the other like group of five thing that I saw was new colleague Chris Landers brought this up, and I was thinking the same thing too. Yeah, Army and Navy are both 5-0 in the American because
Mhm.
Army's now in the American too. So like there's a possibility they both got to play Notre Dame, so it's probably a loss for both of them. But let's say they're both like 10-1, and then they got to play the AAC championship game, and
Mm.
then they got to play each other again.
Yeah, dude. I mean, sign me up. I'm here for it. Give me all the service academies because, like, I will say, like, it's fun to talk about now. Navy has a pretty tough schedule remaining. I was actually looking at it after we'd had that conversation with Chris Landers, and yeah, Navy has a tough schedule. Army has a tough schedule as well. So, like, I don't foresee it happening, but hey, you never know. It'd be fun. But like, yeah, I don't know, man. like I said, this college football season is going off the rails real quickly, like real quickly. And we're just getting started. Next week, we've got Texas, and we got Red River with Texas, Oklahoma, which, based on how things are going, I fully expect Oklahoma to come out of nowhere and win that game. We've got Ohio State, Oregon next week in Eugene. Who knows how that's going to go, because neither of those teams are tested at all at this
Yeah.
point. So, like, it's just off the rails, and the fact that Army and Navy could end up playing twice, once in the AAC championship game and once in the Army Navy game, sure, why the hell not?
Don't forget next week it's Bulldog Bulldog
Oh,
between Georgia and
hell
Mississippi State.
yes, that's right. I mean, we've got to take Antonio there, right? Like, it's the Bulldog matchup.
We were this close to probably going to Louisville, Virginia, but Louisville lost, so Bulldog Bulldog.
Bulldog, baby, and also pony up. Your SMU preseason love not looking so bad nowadays. Like it
No,
looked pretty tough through the first couple weeks of the season, but you're sitting pretty right now.
yeah, the fact that BYU is good and it won better than I thought they'd be already, it makes me look really effing stupid, but that's okay.
Hey,
Um,
it's a give and take, this business.
that's what it's all about. You give, you take, you run, and now we're gonna pass. Yeah. I'm gonna pass on these three teams making the playoff. USC's done, Michigan's done, and Mizzou's on life support. Obviously, we just saw Michigan lose to Washington and USC lose to Minnesota, with PJ Fleck being the real Slim Shady Caillou out there. Just I can't. And then obviously Mizzou just completely crapped the bed and embarrassed themselves. Mike Elko took the Alpha Nerd and stuffed him in a locker, and then poured gasoline there, lit him on fire.
Yeah, man. Of all the outcomes I foresaw for that Mizzou Texas A&M game, Texas A&M just blowing Mizzou off the field was not one I had written down, to be
No.
quite frank with you. And shouts to the Alpha Nerd kicking a meaningless field goal to hit the over. Our Minute Media colleague Reed Wallach had the under at 48.5, so a tough beat for him. That's we'll put him on Scott Van Pelt's bad beats, but yeah, I mean it's just Mizzou. My read on Mizzou coming into that game was maybe they had been playing a little bit of possum, which I mentioned on Thursday. Turns out they might just be fraudulent, man, because that defense looks soft as Charmin. Because Texas A&M bullied them in every sense of the word. It didn't matter if it was in the trenches. It didn't matter if it was the receivers. They didn't know if they looked like they could tackle. Like I was watching. I'm working at home at my mom's house, and my mom is not watching the games, but she's listening to them, and she goes, what's happening in this game? And I was like, well, I don't think Missouri knows how to tackle. So like that's probably not going to end well for them. And sure enough, it did not. And then on the other two games you mentioned, Michigan going and losing to Washington on the road, we pegged that. Like that kind of seemed pretty obvious, like it was going to
Yeah.
happen. And the fact that Alex Orji went out of that game, like that didn't help the fact like Michigan had established at least somewhat of an offensive identity. Then you go to Jack Tuttle and you don't really have much of an identity because Jack Tuttle is no bueno. And so like, and then you go to USC, like I think USC is better than they were a year ago, top to bottom as a roster. But I don't think they necessarily have the ceiling that they had with Caleb Williams. And when you don't have the ceiling, that can also sometimes lower your floor if your offense just isn't cooking the way you need it to. And so, like, I think that's what we saw in that. But like, you're right. And like, you said Mizzou's CFP hopes are on life support. I would venture to say they're dead, man, because now you have I think Mizzou and Texas A&M are in a situation where they're kind of going to be competing for the same playoff spot, and Texas A&M is going to have that one up on you, and you kind of have similarly soft schedules to finish this year. And so if that's the case, Texas A&M is always going to have that leg up on you, even if you both drop one more. Like if Texas A&M loses the finale to Texas, if Mizzou drops one along the way to whoever, like Texas A&M is still going to have that leg up on you if you have the same record. So like Mizzou is in a very bad spot after this game, especially with how emphatic that loss was.
Definitely. I mean, the Vanderbilt win looks better by comparison, but then you also got to factor in the Ole Miss and the LSU of it all. Arkansas is still kind of in play, actually.
Yeah,
Although
somehow
although although Oklahoma State's dead. I don't know what they're doing. Uh Gator
they're
flipped
very
over.
dead.
Gator flipped over and he's cooking and Gundy can't find his shirt. This is false start.
I think Mike Gundy might have been on a hunting trip all season. I think that might be the answer.
Is Gunner coaching the team?
He just looked. He walked into the building. He saw Alan Bowman, and he said, "This dude's way too close to my age to still be playing college football. I'm out of here."
Man, I thought you were done. I'm going to come back next year when you're definitely gone.
I can't deal with your ass anymore, brother.
Speaking of which, I had Taco Bell for dinner tonight. It was great.
Hell yeah, dude. I had as I said on Slack at work, I had mom's spaghetti. Palms are not sweaty. We're ready to go.
So I'll kind of unpack. You did a good job with the well, I'm starting there. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's a long day.
No,
It's Sunday already, and I don't have football I have to care about, but you might, I think. Who you guys
Sunday
playing
night
today?
football. Sunday night
Yeah,
football. Yeah, we got the Steelers. It's I'm not looking forward to it, quite frankly.
they're kind of fraudulent, to be honest with you.
So are the Cowboys, though. That's the problem.
I don't think the Falcons are fraudulent, but I don't know what they are. They're the Falcons.
They're fun as hell. I can tell you that much. Like, at least your team's fun.
Yeah. But I don't think Missouri, Michigan, or USC are fun. With Missouri, my thing was like their offense is like just get the ball to Luther Burden. I thought Brady Cook played hard, all things considered, but he had nothing. Like they
No.
were Kirby Moore. What are you doing? It's like,
Yeah.
you're just the off you're the Kellen Moore you have at home.
I don't even know. Like, it might be the Kellen Moore you have in like the guest house or something. Because I don't know if I don't even know if he deserves to be mentioned in that same breath.
You left the PB&J sandwich in the sleeve of the sun, in the sun of the sidewalk, and it's out there cooking.
He's like a homemade Uncrustable, like not quite as good.
This isn't what we intended it to be, but it's here now. Um, I knew that, like, so the first two articles of the day I wrote were about this game. The first one I said the idea of Connor Wegman, it's not worth it to put him out there. Mea culpa, I'm wrong. But to be fair, they would have won with Marcel Reed. That was he played well, but like that A&M was just too menacing defensively. There was really nothing that Mizzou could do. The crowd got into it.
Yeah.
Colin Klein was in his bag. I remember showed you this. There's like a late chiropractor named Nelson Vitanzi from like out like suburban Colorado where Colin Klein's from, and he's like this Mike Smith looking guy, just like really getting after it. He like grunts while he adjusts people. No, again, no longer with us. Probably died of COVID when it first came out because that's probably what he's about. But like he's
Oh God.
he's just
Uh,
adjusting. He's adjusting Colin Klein in his cargo shorts. And I'm like, this guy plays for K-State. Oh my God.
my favorite brand of Instagram / TikTok is people making fun of Instagram and TikTok chiropractors, where it's just like they've got like a skeleton. And they're like, all right, I'm just gonna crack your neck, and then just throw the body across the room. Like, it's my favorite type of humor. That's what I'm here for. But no, and I will say this in Mizzou's favor. There was a little bit of home cooking at Kyle Field. There were some bad calls early in that game that really
Yeah.
flipped the script of what that game could have been. Like the picked up flag on the Theo Weiss DPI against him that would have kept the game alive, instead it ended, or the drive alive, instead it ended up being a turnover on downs. The Luther Burden, the third touchdown that got called back on
Yeah.
like a very soft illegal man downfield call, like a little bit of home cooking. But at the end of the day, you lost 41-10. I'm not going to make those excuses for you. You still got your brains kicked in. So, like, like if you kept it close, I would be justifying it a little bit. Like, you have some gripes, and maybe the game got more out of hand because of those calls. But at the end of the day, like, show a little bit more fight in those situations.
The other thing is, I know I picked Mizzou to win the game initially. I'm like, so we got this Mizzou post that needs to get written before kickoff. So I'm writing this at like 9:30 in the morning Eastern time. I look over there and it's like, oh, Eli Drinkwitz is keeping this one Mizzou staffer from like being part of practice. I'm like, this is odd. And I'm like, oh, it's Marcel Reed's older sister, Bria. I believe that's how you
Hmm.
say it. It's like, yeah, she can't be here because she might give the plays there. I'm like, first off, she's a professional. She's an Alabama grad. She works like for the recruiting office. And for me, that just shows like that Drake has he's turning super villain pretty quickly, falling out of favor pretty quickly. The visor's going to his head, kind of got that Florida Gator man energy going about him there. We saw Devour Dan Mullen ruin his reputation pretty quick. It's
Maybe
like,
he needs to
why?
go full hat, because maybe it's sun poisoning on the top of the head. Maybe that's what we're dealing with here.
I mean, Drinkwitz, like, Is he Jewish? He might be at some point. Or so
I
put a
have no
yarmulke on,
idea.
dude.
I have no idea.
He goes out there with a yarmulke on like like George Bluth,
Oh
caged
my God.
wisdom.
Oh my God. You're gonna make me cry. Um, I can't handle that notion in my head.
uh, Drew can't do this conversation today. Why? It's Yom Kippur. He's fasting, man. He can't do it. He's not talking to you today. But
Oh my God.
I that's what needs to happen. He needs to have a come to Moses moment.
Come to me, yeah, part the Red Seas, get the 11th commandment, all that jazz. That's what we need.
I need to come back from that too. I was in a heater there. Holy ass.
He's gonna put Kirby Moore on, like he's gonna have to sacrifice his son, Kirby Moore, like Abraham.
He comes out he comes out with like some peyote just curling up the side of it, some side lost. How'd you grow that so quickly? Oh, power of God, brother.
We're in the age of Diego Pavia. Anything is possible.
Messiah Diego Pavia, yes. So I'll go back to Michigan. Like, okay, they go to Jack Tuttle. Like, Jack, I like Turtles Tuttle. Like, I kept hearing the name, like, who the hell's that? I keep hearing this name, and then he's out there. Orchie can't throw. Sherrod Moore doesn't know what he's doing, dude. It's just like
No.
he's a Hufflepuff that got into Slytherin for no reason other than he just followed Jim Harbaugh there.
And in that Michigan game, I do like it's very easy to crap on Michigan because we've talked about Michigan being frauds before the season even started. But do want to give some credit to Washington
Yeah.
because Will Rogers is playing a lot better than I thought he was going to at Washington, getting out of the air raid system. Jed Fish, despite like basically having like a Frankenstein roster from what he lost at Washington, what he tried to bring in from Arizona, wasn't able to bring in, guys like Fafita and McMillan, but, brought in some good players on the offensive line and on the defense. That Washington team, I think, is going to be frisky all year long, especially what we saw tonight with teams having to go to Husky Stadium. Like that's going to be I foresee that not just this year, but long term, just really being a house of horrors for the Big Ten.
For sure. Like they had that tough loss last week versus Rutgers on Friday. That kind of stung for a while there. Got kind of out executed by Rutgers. They had I don't know if it's like a big non-conference win, but I think they handed Eastern Michigan, who's pretty decent, might win the MAC. Their only loss up
Mhm.
entering this week. I don't know how the Eagles did up to this point, but like Washington is frisky. Washington seems to be a little bit further along than we expect. We kept saying like, oh, it's Oregon and USC. I think USC and Washington are much closer than people realize.
Yeah, I will, especially with what we saw from USC this evening. Like, I mean, God, it is. And we talk about USC and Michigan being out of the playoff. Like the back end of the playoff race is just a dumpster fire right now, dude. Like right now, like if you just like looking at what I did in the projected AP top 25 for fansided.com, like I have Ole Miss and LSU as the number 9 and number 10 teams in the country. Like that's not a good place to be in. Or sorry, no,
No.
sorry, I forgot about Tennessee losing. They're the number 8 and number 9 teams in the country. Notre Dame is number 10. Like that's where we're sitting at right now. And what is happening?
I mean, past like Penn State and Oregon, you're like, okay, who's gonna probably make it? It's like at that point, you're sitting there, you're like, okay, I feel pretty good. We'll touch on this here in a second, but yeah, I feel pretty good about Texas and Alabama and Georgia, and then I don't know. And then it's like, yeah, I feel pretty good about Ohio State, Penn State, maybe Oregon, and it's like, I don't know. It's so
So
stupid.
let me ask you a question because I may be overreacting a little bit, but I don't think I am. In the projected AP top 25, you won't find Michigan and USC in there. I dropped them completely out of the top 25. Is that an overreaction or is that like the right call at this point in the season?
I would probably, it's tough. Put up both, like put up 24 or 25, like just to really
Well,
mess with people. But at that point, like they're not in the conversation anymore. They're not good. And like it's like Michigan's two losses are by multiple scores. It's not close.
yeah.
And then USC, it's like You're an offensive juggernaut. You got the Wonderkind over there, which I just think is just a snake oil salesman. Yes,
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley. That's you can't run the ball anymore. That was your bread and butter. What are you doing? You're gonna sell me 76 trombones in a band parade to some stupid people from Missouri? I mean, they're gullible. They'll believe anything. They'll believe in that football team that Drink's playing. My God.
Gary, Indiana, baby. Let's head on over there. But yeah, dude, I know musicals. I was a theater kid. Don't play with me. But no, like it's bad. And like I see what you're saying, like put them at 24 and 25 just to have them in there. But like at the same time, like Nebraska just beat the Rutgers team that just beat Washington. So I put Nebraska in at 25, and then Pitt, shouts to the Tar Heels who are absolutely terrible. They freaking blow. But like Pitt's 5-0 now. So like I'm giving Pitt the respect. Put them at 24. Like that's a team that has to be, you're 5-0 playing an ACC schedule, winning against West Virginia in the backyard brawl. Like you deserve to be in the top 25 at that point. I don't think Pitt is that good, but I mean, you're 5-0 at this point. What do you want me to do?
I mean, you start thinking about like who's 4-2 or whatever's better. Where's Georgia Tech fit in that equation? Like, I
Yeah, I
mean,
know. There's so many teams that I think like any given week can just beat each other. Like I think like once you get outside of probably I'd say like the top 18 teams in the country, something like that. Like once you get outside of that, like you go like 19 to like maybe like 50. And like it would not be that shocking if one of those teams beat one of those other teams at this point.
would you put Arkansas for both those teams?
Would I pick Arkansas? Yeah, I absolutely
Yeah.
would. Because I mean like Arkansas has the better win of any of those teams. Arkansas has at least like they haven't had a non-competitive game. Like both their losses have been competitive. So like they haven't gotten blown out in any game this season. They finished the game tonight, which is great to see because that was the one question I had about them. Like when they got the ball down 14-13, I was like, oh God, this is gonna end so poorly. Like they're gonna throw a pick six in the end zone or something like that. But no, they pulled it out. So yeah, I mean, go Hogs, as our boy Sam Pittman likes to say.
His rack ribs are out of this world.
They really are, brother. I was eyeing those suckers while he was doing his post game.
I bet Josh Heupel's crying into his Letterman's jacket right now.
Dude, I mean, let's take that Josh Heupel to our punt, which
Yeah.
is we're punting on the idea of the SEC getting five teams into the college football playoff. I think it's something we both agree on because at this point we have our top three. We have Texas, Georgia, and Alabama. And I think like despite even with Alabama losing to Vanderbilt today, like we're pretty confident in those three teams getting into the college football playoff. After that, you have a Tennessee team that we talked about on Thursday. We mentioned, okay, this Arkansas team is the best offense this defense has played. What is that going to look like? And not only did Taylor Green look really good against this offense or against this defense, but their backup won the game for Arkansas. Taylor Green got
Yeah.
knocked out of the game, and it still didn't matter on the final drive. And then you look at, LSU and Ole Miss, who maybe that'll settle itself next week. That's another big game that we have next week. But like we don't trust either of those teams. I will say I was impressed by Ole Miss today,
Mhm.
bouncing back from the Kentucky loss, going on the road to Columbia against a tough South Carolina team. And more important than Jackson Dart or anything they did on offense, the defense really stepped up. Lenora Sellers returned from South Carolina, and they shut him down. They made him look really impotent in terms of what he could do on that offense. So I'm not all the way back in on Ole Miss, but I am intrigued. Let's say intrigued. LSU, I don't know if I'm intrigued by because they played one meaningful game so far this season and they lost at USC, which that looks
Way
substantially worse
worse.
than it did
Yeah.
before. Yeah. And so like and you go down the list, Mizzou looks like a fraud at this point. I mean honestly at this point Texas A&M might be the fourth best team in the SEC.
Yeah, you're kind of like with them or Tennessee. How do you feel about that? So I go back to Tennessee, and I got some pushback on this from Vol Twitter about this. My last time I was doing the show solo, so 2 weeks ago, they let Oklahoma back in. Again, Oklahoma is another team
Mhm.
that maybe they're still in it too. We forget about them. We forget they're in the SEC,
I haven't forgotten
and
about them. I just think they suck.
yeah, that's fair too. I mean, we're waiting for Steve Sarkisian to suplex Brent Venables into a vat of grease and cook him crispy.
Yeah, give me whatever number Texas is favored by. I can tell you that right now.
And even with Texas, I still have some concerns too. I feel like they got to go back to Quinn whenever that time is, because I don't. I feel like Arch is better than this, and I'm very afraid about this for Tennessee. I can't believe I'm going to say this. Nico's got some DJU qualities to him about it. I'm starting to see
Ooh,
this.
that's
It's
harsh. That's pretty harsh.
the very beginning of it. It's
Hmm.
like this blue chip thing. You go out there and you get some adversity, and then it kind of gets in your head a little bit. It's like Bo Nix initially at Auburn, where like you see good, but then you panic, and then you have to like maybe that's maybe the better thing there. But like there's levels to this stuff. Where I just kind of feel like the Diego Pavias of the world. I mean, Beck has this. Carson Beck has it a little bit too. It's like Stetson Bennett was the best. Like I'm playing like crap. Okay, I can fix this. I can turn this around, make it competitive later. I feel with Nico, it was like when they got the ball back for Tennessee, I'm like they're not going to score. I had
Yeah.
zero faith in Tennessee scoring the game-winning touchdown because of this. Like he failed to catch the snap, and it went to the running back, and it run for 4 yards, and Josh Heupel is about to hulk out of his meat sleeves, just screaming himself Tom Coughlin purple. It's like I can't believe you did this. But maybe the DGO thing is too harsh, but it's like we try to crown Nico as saying like he's an X-handed hooker. He's not
Mhm.
there yet.
No.
And I can't quite put my finger on it. Maybe it's, I don't know if it's the DGO. There's something there where it's like the pressure's too much right now for him to be the savior, the guy who's going to take the Vols to the promised land. And maybe they'll smoke Georgia by 40 points in a couple of weeks. But right now, I'm like, I think against a halfway decent team, they're not scoring 30.
No, and I think that's perfectly fair based on what we've seen. Like Oklahoma limited that offense, and Oklahoma's problem is their own offense. So like that's it didn't really matter in that game, but I think we saw, and I'm not ready to, kill Nico long term, but I think this is the first real adversity he's seen. Like even against a tough Oklahoma defense, like it was still a comfortable game script. You know what I mean? This was a negative game script basically from the jump. Like they jumped out to a lead early in the second half, but at the same time, like Arkansas still stayed in the fight. Arkansas was still getting tremendous pressure on him. Shots to Landon Jackson, dude. Dude was in the backfield the entire freaking game. Um, no eyebrows, no hair, but in the backfield for sure.
No, he's
and
just, but I just feel like he was just bored in like in a grease pit. He's out there. He's like, I'm ready to get that hog boss.
Dude,
But
like I swear, he was born in Sam Pittman's grease pit. Like I swear to
yeah.
God, like absolutely.
His blood type isn't AB, or oh, it's tallow.
No, no, dude, his blood type is BBQ. That's what it is.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm sitting there trying to like put together what my top 12 is going to be before I see the AP, and I usually get this wrong. We'll talk about this a little bit more on Monday, but I'm like, I think I've got four in maybe at the SEC at this point, but at this point, I'm like, I don't, I don't trust anybody really beyond Alabama or Georgia. I don't see a team that can like get punched in the mouth and get back up and get it together within the round. I mean, yes, Georgia lost to Alabama, and Alabama lost to Vanderbilt, but like this is what the SEC is. Like there's no easy outs except for Mississippi State.
Mississippi State, and I mean, Florida when they play an SEC team, basically at this point, unless
Yeah.
it's yeah, like it's outside of Mississippi State, of course. But I do think that like I'm a little higher on Texas still than you are. Like I I as I was writing the projected AP top 25, I realized like what a great week this is for Texas. Like you get a week off, you don't have to worry about anything. You can take a light practice, get Quinn Ewers another week healthy before you go into Red River. So and like he was close to playing last week. So like Quinn Ewers, I expect to be fully back by for Red River. Like I think he was probably healthy enough to play last week, but they knew they'd be fine with Arch. And you talk about, you don't know if there's a team that can get hit in the mouth and get back up. I think Texas, what stands out to me about Texas and the way they played to this point in the season is if they get hit in the mouth, they don't fall down, they just hit you harder. And like I think that's kind of my read on Texas right now. So like I'm confident in Texas as confident as I am in Alabama and Georgia overall, like long term. And I think what's interesting is, we're talking about the SEC in this, but like are there any other teams in the country that you really feel confident in? Because, like we said, I personally still don't. Maybe you feel differently, but like, I still don't know what Ohio State and Oregon are. I have a vague idea of what Penn State is, but they didn't like blow me away against UCLA today. That probably has a lot to do with the fact that they go play USC next week in Southern California. But like, there's a lot of teams in this mix still that I think haven't shown me anything. Whereas Alabama, even though they lost to Vanderbilt today, they have shown me they can play up and beat a Georgia. Georgia has shown me that they can beat the brakes off a team like Clemson. Texas has shown me they can go into the big house, a very tough environment, and dog walk Michigan across their house. So, like, those three teams have at least proven to me, not only are those the only three teams in the SEC that have proven anything to me, they might be the only three teams in the country in the college football playoff mix that have proven anything to me.
I may push back a little bit on Ohio State. I feel like what they did today versus Iowa was it did something for me a little bit
Okay.
more. I feel like they were like, okay, we're playing with our food. We're gonna stop doing that. This is Iowa. Let's just beat the snot out of them in the second half, and they did. And I take a lot of credit with that.
That's fair.
Or
And
and
I'll give you that one.
and I think Oregon's starting to kind of figure it out. They did that a little bit versus Michigan State. They had Michigan State, a pretty well coached team. Not a lot of talent there in East Lansing, but like that was kind of a program when I think they're starting to get their confidence back. I just think there's a very limited ceiling with how good they can be with Dylan Gabriel, which is maybe win a playoff game and that's it.
Yeah, that's fair. And like I guess it's not to discredit Ohio State necessarily as much as it is to say I just think Iowa's not that good. Like
No.
I think that's kind of what it is. Like you can sell out to stop one phase of their offense and you're gonna be fine. Like you shut down Caleb Johnson and like am I afraid of Cade McNamara beating me if I'm Ohio State with the defense that they have? Absolutely not. But like I think the thing when you know, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but like looking at Ohio State, Oregon next week, the two things I want to see are has Oregon been holding anything back with Dylan Gabriel? I don't think so. I think, like we've talked about, Dylan Gabriel is just more limited than what we saw with Bo Nix. But I'm giving room for doubt in what I see to this point that maybe there's something left in the tank that I haven't seen. On the flip side of that, the one secret about this Iowa team this year, their defense is not what it's been in years past. It's not quite the same that what's the word? Explosive plays. They've been
Yeah.
allowing explosive plays at a way higher rate than they ever have before, and more importantly, they've been allowing those explosive plays because they're not forcing turnovers at the level that they normally do. Like we've seen Phil Parker's defenses like just turn people over consistently. That's just not happening this year. I am curious to see what this Ohio State offense. What they've been holding back, because I very clearly think that they've been holding stuff back based on what we've seen from them. And I'm curious to see what they look like against this Oregon defense, which the one thing I have seen from Oregon that I am coming around on is this defense has gotten better with every single week. Like they put you mentioned the limited talent at Michigan State. Aiden Childs is talented.
Yeah.
He might be the new Whoopsie Daisy King, but he is talented. And they pretty much put the clamps on him and gave him no chance to do a whole lot of anything on Friday night.
Shout out Anthony Calandra, 4-1 there at UVA.
Dude, what a world. What Tony Elliott, I hope you like Charlottesville because you might be staying there, brother.
Yeah, so you're gonna be taking up residency like Dave Matthews. Oh yeah.
Dude, talk about a house I do not want to live in. Dave Matthews and Tony Elliott, that's hell on earth.
I don't think Dave Matthews knows how to communicate. He just speaks in like clicks in a sound bites. It's just like it's like all the stuff like on a really bad like talk radio. It's like "Pew, pew, 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 pew." And it's just like Dave, will you please pass me the green beans, man? I'm hungry. Cody is just deceased right now.
Oh, dude, I'm running on like 4.5 hours of sleep. I'm jet lagged from coming from New Mexico yesterday. So yeah, I'm easily susceptible to death this evening.
This is the 1830s, brother.
Let's go. This is basically the Oregon Trail podcast.
We'll throw you in the smelter. This is the Industrial Revolution in British Bahamut.
We're fording the river. Let's ride.
Cody, this isn't a shallow ford. We're fording the river. Uh, and we're gonna ford a river next week. This was 3 yards and a cloud of punt. Uh, week 6, yes, of the college football season on fall start. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter at Buhler118. You can follow Cody Williams at the Sizzle 20. You can follow the show at CFB Fall Start. like, rate, listen, subscribe, review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere there's podcasts. Jilly Bean, yes, she left us a message there on the show, and she wants us to dance like Gus Malzahn on the next episode because she thinks he's an alien, and we'll break it down. Break it down, boys. Probably on Monday's show when I don't know, actually with maybe Thursday show when we do some when we get Russified.
Oh yeah, dude. That's for sure the time, you know. We eat the Holy Triumvirate is going to course through our veins.
And I don't think we're gonna go to. We're doing Bulldog, Bulldog. Yeah, I was thinking
Bulldog,
about
Bulldog.
Bulldog, Bulldog with some Rush. Yeah, I haven't figured out when I'm gonna be coming live to y'all. This time next week, I'll be probably riding solo like a cup, and Cody's gonna be doing dancing at weddings and things and stuff.
Yeah, you know, sorry to abandon the I don't what are we calling the fans again? I forgot. We came up with something earlier this week. The
Starters.
starters, yeah, sorry,
Yeah,
the starters, yeah. Sorry to let the starters down, but friends getting married, gotta go handle that. And they did say that if I wanted to, if I could find a TV to will in there like a middle school on movie day, that I was more than able to watch college football if I wanted to. So, if you have a connection to a TV that I can wheel into a wedding reception in Charlotte, North Carolina, please hit me up.
God bless. Oh, you know, I don't know if they do more than shoot hoops and turn left there, but oh my God. Here's a TV, brother. Let's push this thing in here. Squeaky wheels.
Squeaky wheels always, baby. That's basically the theme of this podcast.
Squeaky wheels and don't let jet lag kick your ass. And this is false start.